Dodgers are just going to buy every single good player and they're going to ruin the game and now baseball's over? I put out a tweet last night after I saw this massive signing and deferral payments and over $2.1 billion now in total salary, I guess, on their roster. I said, Dodgers are so good at baseball. I mean, they got all the good players. They're so good at baseball. The responses were very negative to me and to the Dodgers as a baseball operation. What does this mean? Why does it mean it? And how did this get done, Jed? It's a lot for you, but if you could explain why I was getting murdered for what I said, please.
Well, let's start with the dollar figures, because that is why, Pat, they were going after you. And, we saw last year with Juan Soto getting $51 million a year over 15 years, setting a new mark for contracts, not just in baseball, but across all of major professional sports. It was an enormous deal, and I thought it was going to be a long time until that average annual value was beaten. It lasted all of 1 year because there weren't a whole lot of deferrals, $30 million out of the 240 that the Dodgers gave Kyle Tucker for 4 seasons. It takes the average annual value down to $57.1 million a year. This looks like an NBA contract. It looks like a supermax. It's one of those types of deals. And the reason that the Dodgers are doing it is very simple, because Kyle Tucker is 28 years old and they are getting those prime seasons. And in the case of Juan Soto's contract, had he gone for something shorter term, he might have gotten 70 or 80 or $90 million a year in this market. He chose the long-term guarantee. What Tucker gets is the optionality with opt-outs after years 2 and 3, where if he can get that longer-term deal and go back out onto the market after a great season, he's going to do that. I think the anger, Pat, from baseball fans is understandable. It is warranted, and it's illustrative of where the game is right now and what both owners and players need to do as the collective bargaining agreement expires on December 1st. Baseball needs to listen to its fans. And what its fans are saying right now is this system that has worked and operated with no salary cap for the entirety of baseball history really has been wonderful to players, and it's been great to the game. And you don't necessarily need a cap to achieve what fans want. That, at the end of the day, is what this story needs to be and what it should be about. That fans right now feel like this game is unfair. And if enough fans, and we're talking 29 fan bases, we're talking Yankees fans, Red Sox, Cubs, Padres, everyone looks at the Dodgers right now and the way that they are operating, which, by the way, is within the confines of the rules. But sometimes rules need to adapt. Sometimes rules need to evolve. Sometimes rules need to reflect what the modern society is asking for in the sport. And in the sport right now, baseball fans want to feel like when they go into a season, their team has a chance. And right now, because the Dodgers have won 2 World Series in a row and have gone out and signed the best free agent on the market in Kyle Tucker and the best closer on the market in Edwin Diaz, they don't feel like they have that opportunity going into the season. And it's not just the fans, Pat. The players themselves, I heard from players last night, like, how do we beat the Dodgers? And baseball's the kind of game where the best team doesn't always win. It's just happened to the last couple of years, and the fear is that it's going to happen again.
Okay, so thank you for all the information there and for breaking it all down. Dodgers doing what is legal in current baseball. You saying what 2026 calls for has to be a different system. Now, what all happens to all these contracts? Because isn't the CBA up in like a year? And what would the move be? There'd be a basement amount of money that has to be paid, and then there would be a ceiling on the amount of money that's allowed to be paid. So a salary cap has to happen. So like Pittsburgh Pirates fans, our owner has to spend this amount of money, and then the gap between what has to be spent versus most allowed to spend is much smaller. Is that what the next negotiation is? And what do all these deals that are deferred for 15 years? Shohei's deal, he's not getting paid really until 2030.
Yeah, most of it's deferred.
So that would be after the new CBA. So how does that kind of all play together? And what is the fix to make people happier or feel optimistic about their teams? Because I think there's a few of our teams in here where we're not really optimistic ever to begin with. So we would like to feel optimistic at some point as well. When does that answer happen, and what happens to baseball if it was to happen?
So here's the likely way it's going to play out. The collective bargaining agreement expires. And when it does, unless there is a deal in place, Major League Baseball is going to lock the players out. This happened back in 2001, going into 2022. It was problematic. They did not lose games. The positions that have been staked out by both sides are this: owners want a salary cap. They look at all the other major men's sports in North America and they say they have salary caps. Why don't we? Salary caps would bring some semblance of competitive balance to the game. Now, I don't know that that's entirely true. That presupposes that a salary cap causes, as opposed to is correlated to parity and to evenness and to fairness, so to speak. Players, on the other hand, look at it like, hey, we have a system right now that's paying Juan Soto $755 million. We have a system that's giving Kyle Tucker $60 million a year. Do we really want to change that? Do we really want to limit the earning power of players and limit the ability to make the kind of money that they are right now? Major League Baseball argues that, hey, under this system, players are going to make even more, but you guys know how salary caps work. They start at a fixed percentage of revenue that's given, and every negotiation is just ownership trying to take that percentage down and down and down. The first deal in a salary cap you get is the best. Players don't want to open that Pandora's box. The real question at the end of the day is, where do they find compromise? Can they find compromise, or are both sides going to take this sport and drive it off a cliff? Because ultimately, what do they do this for? Yeah, they do it for the businesses on the owner's side. Of course they do. They want to make money. On the player side, they do it, yes, to make money and yes, to win championships as well. But really, they do it for the fans, because with the fans, they ain't got nothing. And fans right now are feeling alienated, they are feeling disaffected, and everybody involved, players and owners alike, need to listen. Listen to what fans are saying, listen to each other, and try and find some sort of compromise that's going to prevent baseball from doing something that it's going to deeply regret if this labor war turns into what it could.
So you're saying for the good of ball, we need to figure this out, because there was the
No, I'm not saying there needs to be a salary cap, Pat.
You're saying for the good of ball, though, this shit needs to be figured out, obviously, for the good of the fans, for the good of ball, all that stuff. Yes, I agree with you.
Absolutely. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that. I don't have any stake in it. I'm not invested in baseball. I'm not trying to make money playing baseball. But everybody needs to understand this is a universe that people will escape if you don't give them what they want.
Yeah, fans have proven, especially over the last 10 years or so, that they will say, nah, we're not doing that anymore, and almost protest actively what you have going on. Obviously, hopefully for baseball, that's not the case. I don't know if you're getting an update right now. We will certainly love.
Yeah, I just got some news. JT Realmuto is going back to Philadelphia, 3 years, $45 million.
Come on.
Hey, congratulations. Real Mutos, real deal.
It's a good get.
That's a great gift for Philadelphia.
Wanted him in Boston.
Is that 15 per there? Is that what that is? 345?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And look, the Phillies were in on Bo Bichette. And Bo Bichette earlier today, we talk about Kyle Tucker's deal, 4 years and $240 million. Bo Bichette got 3 years and $126 million from the New York Mets. So really the fallout from the Kyle Tucker deal last night, he goes to the Dodgers when everybody was thinking it's going to be the Mets or it's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. The Mets turn around and they pivot to Bo Bichette and bring him into an infield that was filled already, but they needed a bat to protect Juan Soto in their lineup, and the Phillies were in on Bichette. They now go back to Realmuto, who's been their catcher for a half decade and has been part of all of the great things that they've done. So
okay.
It's interesting times, man. I think baseball is in such a fascinating place right now, and as bearish as some fans are, based on what happened yesterday with Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers and with them seemingly getting anybody that they want, there are solutions that can be had if you have people going to the table in good faith and having the same goal in mind, which is to preserve all of the great things baseball has going for it and to build the game and to really reward fans who invest as much time as they do in this sport that lasts for 6 months and that demands 2.5 to 3 hours from you every day.
A lot of time.
Baseball's a lot, but it's worth it.
It's a lot. Okay, so on the point of agreeing at the table in good faith, the players that don't want the salary cap or the money to change right now that it is, they're just going to say, the team you referenced there, the Mets spent the most and they didn't even make the playoffs. So if it's just spending money, how come that's the argument immediately, right? I assume from Dodgers and from those people. So then how do you get everybody at the table to agree? Who knows? All right, good luck. Good luck over there. We're pulling for all parties for the good of ball because we're getting interested. But there's another story out there that you guys have. Arbitration or something, which is a wild thing that baseball has that no other sport that I know has. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Jet, is there any kind of update on Tarik Skubal? Because I think a lot of people assumed that he was going to be traded at the winter meetings, like any of the reporters you talked to. Like that was obviously a hot topic of discussion. Then we saw his ARB number was much different than what the Tigers wanted to pay him. Is there any update there? Because I think that, the Kyle Tucker thing is one thing, but I think if Skubal were to get traded to the Dodgers, which is kind of what everyone just assumed when this first got brought up, I think that would send things into much more of a fever pitch. What's going on there?
The Skubal situation, I'll lay it out accordingly. And it's fascinating because Tarik Skubal is the best pitcher in the world. He and Paul Skenes both. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. And the way arbitration works, guys, is that after your third year as a big leaguer, you essentially get to argue for your salary. You can say to the team, I believe, based on past comparable players, am worth this much. The team then comes back and says, we believe you are worth this much. 90+% of guys wind up settling somewhere in the middle. But those that don't settle can go to an arbitration hearing, which is where you have the two sides. Each has given a specific number of salary that they want. In this case, Tarik Skubal has put $32 million out there, higher than anyone has ever gotten into the arbitration system. And the Tigers countered at $19 million, which they believe is fair based on the comparables. And they essentially spend 3 hours arguing back and forth in front of a three-person panel. And at the end of the day, that three-person panel picks which side it wants. There's no in-between once you get into the hearing room. So you've got this enormous gap, this enormous disparity. And the most fascinating part to me is that Tarik Skubal is one of the 8 players on the Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Subcommittee. Which means he is one of the 8 most powerful players in baseball because he's going to be sitting at the bargaining table across from Major League Baseball as they're trying to hash out all of these issues. And this is almost like Skubal saying, as players have in the past, you know what? In the position that I'm in right now, with as much juice as I have as a player, I'm going to go and try and make gains for the player population. I'm going to go into that room and the lawyers around me are going to argue to this panel that I'm the best damn pitcher in the world. I've won 2 straight Cy Youngs. How can you possibly not pay me at the level of other players like a Zach Wheeler who's making, $40+ million? Like a Dylan Cease, who this offseason signed for $30 million. There are going to be those comparable players. And Skubal, because the system allows players in their final year of arbitration to compare themselves to free agent contracts, he's going to go in there and do that. And if this gets to hearing, if there is no settlement, it's going to be an incredible decision that I think is one of those pieces that when we look back historically on this, I think the Tucker contract is going to be one of those flashpoints. I think the Skubal arbitration case, we're building all of these interesting elements that ultimately are going to lead to this negotiation that's going to chart the course of baseball going forward.
We appreciate all the information on baseball. Baseball is interesting. Baseball is cool. Off the field, baseball is awesome as well. The most ever given in MLB arbitration, $31 million. To Juan Soto, who settled with the Yankees in 2024. Shohei Ohtani set a mark at $30 million in 2023. Okay. The highest ever awarded in a hearing was lower, though. To
$19.9 million, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Okay, there it is. Yep.
Don't test me, McAfee.
I appreciate and respect your knowledge there. So when Skenes walks in this thing, this is going to happen to Skenes, after this season?
Yeah, after the season.
Oh, no. And then this would be when he would be gone, huh?
No, we're signing him for a big deal.
No.
The Dodgers.
You got 4 seasons of control of Paul Skenes. He has now, because he won Rookie of the Year his first year, he got a full year of service, even though he wasn't there opening day. That's essentially an incentive to call guys up at the beginning of the season, because if they win an award, they get that full year. But after that third season, Pat, you go into arbitration for 3 different years. And so Tarik Skubal is in his 3rd year of arbitration right now.
And then that deal is for how long?
It depends. I mean,
what if the team doesn't want to pay it?
They have to, or they'll trade the guy. But
that's what I'm talking about here for Paul Skenes.
In this case, though, Pat, arbitration is still like the salaries are dwarfed compared to free agency. That first year of arbitration, because it's based on past comparables, you're not looking at much more than, 8 to $10 million. Like that first year is still going to be depressed. That second year is still going to be depressed. That third year is when he could go out and ask for a lot. But the aphorism, Pat, is true. There is no such thing as a bad 1 year contract. And I think those shorter term deals with Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette sort of illustrate that, teams are much more willing to give those high dollars for those prime years than they are to pay a guy when he's 38, 39, 40.